My name is Christina Papazoglou. I'm Greek. I'm Christian Orthodox. I'm working at the WCC as a Program Executive for Human Rights in the Commission of Churches for International Affairs. And as a Christian Orthodox, I am also part of the Ecumenical Patriarchate of Istanbul. Basically, the work that we are doing is divided in three sections. The first one has to do with human rights and human dignity. And within this section falls our work of organizing an annual international conference, bringing together church members and other ecumenical partners and debating on issues obviously related to human rights. This year we had it in December here in Geneva, and the theme was human rights amidst armed conflicts. And the other part is the organization each year of a regional conference. We want to take the conferences out in the regions because that gives a different perspective. It helps also churches who perhaps would have difficulties coming in Geneva to participate, and it also has an impact on the local communities to have WCC organize something there, and especially in areas where there have been various problems and they're not in a position to have that great of impact. So that's one section of our program. The other one has to do with human rights in the United Nations and the UN mechanisms. Within this context, we're trying to assist our member churches to get acquainted with the UN mechanisms, mainly now the Human Rights Council, but also a new mechanism, which is the Universal Periodic Review, the UPR. It is very important for the churches to participate in that, especially churches which come from areas with huge violations of human rights. But of course there are lots of times it's the fear of, because when they go there it will become public and people will know. So there comes also a role that we can assist them also in making the statements in their name. For instance, now we have a mission of the West Papua, and they expressed their desire to make an oral statement. But again, they were afraid that perhaps that would have some negative consequences for them back home. So we said that we would do the oral statement as the World Council of Churches, expressing our interest and actually worried about the situation there, because WCC can afford to take the blame sometimes from the local governments, which is something that people there, they cannot. That's the second section, I'll just say, of our program, and the third one has to do with human rights and International Criminal Court. That is also very important for us because especially during the last years, the issue of having justice, but justice with impunity do not go along, has been raised very actively. Within this context, we will also be having an ecumenical solidarity visit in Sudan, and then there will be also some conferences in Juba. So my intention is, of course, to listen to the people in Darfur and hear from them firsthand how they experienced the whole situation during the last years. And because Sudan is a very big country, and perhaps in Darfur, especially if you like legal and paralegal groups, they are aware of the situation, actually the current indictment of some people of the militia of Darfur before the International Criminal Court. I don't believe that everybody in Sudan is aware of that. So I would like afterwards during the conference to bring also that voice to the conference and to the participants who will be from all around Sudan, because unless there is a support of the local community and to exert pressure in the government of Sudan, then the work of the International Criminal Court cannot be, actually it will be null and void, in the sense that for the time being also the government in Sudan is refusing actually to arrest those individuals. And unless governments are pressured by their own people to cooperate with the International Criminal Court, then nothing can happen. a bad story, but I suppose also it depends how you see that. It was when I was that was back in '98. I was following the International Convention of Human Rights of the International Institute of Human Rights in Strasbourg. During the summertime, they organized summer courses, and during that period, it was a period after the Rwanda genocide, and there were many participants from all around the world practically. There were workshops, and there were many so-called experts, and they were talking in a very, very academic way about human rights, about crimes against humanity, about how the international community should always be on the alert, and about how Western nations are there and they are usually ready to afford their protection to the most vulnerable. And sadly, at that point where there was total silence, there was a guy that none of us noticed, that he stood up. He practically didn't have, his right hand was cut off, his ear as well, and he had some other, it was obvious that he was attacked at one point in his life. So sort of in a crying voice he said, okay, what you're talking about here is so bogus, because where were you when genocide took place there? When were you when in a matter of a couple of months hundreds of thousands of people were slaughtered? Where were you? And at least for a couple of minutes they didn't know how to react to it, and that makes you feel sad. It makes you feel angry. Sometimes it makes you feel, okay, so when it's all politics, when it's all about the power of the strongest, what am I supposed to do? How can I help? Can I make a difference or not? It had a strong impact on me, and for some years afterwards I was very hesitant in working on human rights, because I also started believing that it was really pretentious, that at the end there was nothing that you can do about it, and I thought that it's really fake to pretend that, okay, yes, I'm working for human rights just because it might sound good, but at the end really you can't be of any help. But then I met some women in India, and those were women who were attacked by their men practically with acid, and lots of times either because of interdomestic violence or because simply because the men thought that they had the right to treat them that way. Those women were helped by some local organizations, which of course were funded by some European and American funds, to help them reintegrate in the society, but at the same time undergo certain procedures abroad, medical procedures. And you saw that these women had still hope, and they would say, if it was not for those people here who made us, who one actually said, you know what, I'm not happy because now I have a nose that I didn't have before. What I'm happy is that now I believe in myself again, and I know that I'm a person, because for the last 40 years of my life I've been treated as an animal, and I thought that that's what I was. But then came those people who talked to me and who made me realize that I'm special as a human being, as all of us, and they gave a new meaning in my life. And I was like, I said, you see a totally different concept, and there you go, like, you don't have to save the world. Even if you make an impact in the life of one person, because that person then will go and have an impact in the lives of others, so it's a chain reaction. And then I said that maybe that's what it's important. If you can just make one person like that smile and have hope for tomorrow, it's like you save one person, you save the world. That's what I think. Everybody now talks about human rights and about protection of human rights. You have many countries in the world where people, first of all, are not aware that certain things are their rights, and they belong to them, and they have every right to claim them. And there, I think that the role of churches, especially churches, is very, very important, because especially in many third world countries where there's not an infrastructure, a good infrastructure, where you don't have the organized civil society. Perhaps you don't have organized civil society, but what you have is a church. I mean, even in the most forgotten place of the planet, at least you will find a mission or something. You know, you will find some people who are there in order to help the people through some simple but very, very essential education programs.